What's up, peeps? It's me, and I'm back. And I'm going to keep this one real short because I'm not feeling well at all. My allergies are bothering me. And the allergies bring on the sinus stuff and all of that. So it's just a whole lot going on. So if I sound congested, that's what's going on. My allergies are just kicking up a fit. Excuse me. So I'm not going to be here long. But there is there are a couple of things that I really thought was important that I needed to share with you, to give you some food for thought, to give you something to think about. And one of them is actually a very possible solution to one of our main problems, right? One of our main problems in the black community, in the FBA community particularly. But so I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe, and I hope everybody's being smart. I hope everybody's head is on swivel. All you foundational black Americans, all black folks, I hope y'all on code. If you're not on code, you're getting on code, and you're understanding that being on code simply means we live by a code of conduct, that we do not do or say anything that's detrimental to the black community as a whole, to the collective. You know, we get back to the spirit of community. We get back to the spirit of looking out for each other, helping each other. We've seen in the last week, we've seen a couple of cases, and Tariq and everybody's calling it a pull-up summer. A couple of cases we've seen where black people have pulled up on folk because on some folk in the dominant society because of their treatment of black people. The young black man that was walking through the neighborhood in South Carolina. The next day, everybody, quite a few people pulled up to their house. Then there was in Opelika, I think it was Opelika, Florida, or something like that. There was this case where there was this guy that was running the rides at a carnival and all of this, and he had like he was crazy. This white dude had like he was crazy, or like maybe he was drugged out or whatever. I mean, he was attacking people left and right. He attacked one of his own co-workers, and at one point, as a black woman was getting off of the ride with her two little children, and she was letting him know that she did not appreciate it. I mean, because he was just taking these folks all just on this ride, just all wild and crazy, and not stopping the ride to let people get off like they were supposed to, and all this. So as she was coming down off the ride, she was reading him and letting him know that she didn't appreciate that. Well, he attacked her. And in the process of attacking her, he knocked down one of her babies. Well, the whole community, at least the part of the community that was there, pulled up on him. If that's what you want to call it, because they was already there. So all they did was, since they was there, they didn't pull up, they stepped up to him. They stepped up, and a few of them stepped on him. So, and it's very good to see black folk once again understanding that we are all we got. We don't have any friends. We don't have any allies. There are no coalitions. You understand what I'm saying? We're in this by ourselves. We've always been in this by ourselves. The only time any other group of people come and have anything to say to us or whatever is when they want to use us and want to use our struggle to get some benefits for themselves. And I think the majority of black people are starting to realize, yeah, we're in this by ourselves. We're going to have to look after each other. And it's a good thing to see. So, let's hope that trend continues. You understand? Because if we continue to do that and we continue to look after each other and protect each other and be there for each other, we won't have so much time to be banging on each other. Because we'll be too busy banging on these other folks that's banging on our brothers and our sisters. You understand what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to get that stick togetherness thing back, like they had it, prior to the 1970s, when they did so much stuff, and all of their little evil plots and plans and all of this to separate the black man and separate from the black woman and separate the black family and break up the black family and cause all of this division and tension and all of this kind of stuff in the black community. Okay. But we need to, we really need to be aware. We really need to be paying attention. We really need to understand that white supremacy is taking quite a few L's. White supremacy was on this kick of trying to convince everybody that black folks were the victimizers. You understand what I'm saying? And that we were targeting Asians for hate crimes and all of this kind of stuff and everything. And just when they thought they had that propaganda getting off the ground, and just when they had all their black bootlicks and all their black puppets and they black paid performers and all of this, just when they had them spouting all that foolishness, talking about, black folks, we're going to have to stop hurting Asians and all of this kind of stuff, white supremacy just keeps on. The white supremacists, they just keep on. They just keep on showing out. Like I said, white supremacy is out of the bag now. It's out of the bag. It ain't no bringing it back in control. It ain't no bringing it back behind the curtain. It ain't no bringing it no more in the shadows and all of that. It's out in the open. It's bold and all of that. Because these folks know they're running out of time. These folks know that Mother Nature is and nature is against them. And they don't have time, you understand what I'm saying, to be trying to play nice with us no more. You understand what I'm saying? Because compared to what they think they got planned for us in the next few years, what they have planned for us and done to us up until now is going to look like a cakewalk. So that's the reason why we've got to be prepared. That's the reason why we've got to be exercising our Second Amendment rights. That's the reason why we've got to be concentrating on protecting ourselves, protecting our families, protecting our businesses, protecting our communities, protecting our women and our children. Women, we're going to have to be ready to stand strong with black men. All of this division that they trying to cause and all this kind of stuff, we're going to have to tell them all now, y'all can kiss where the sun don't shine. But anyway, let's get into this, because like I said, I wasn't going to be here long. Now, the first story that I want to bring to y'all is one that I don't think too many people have heard about, because I hadn't heard anything about it. And I just happened to run across it yesterday, and it was very, very interesting. And there were some very interesting things brought out in this article about this case. And so I want to talk about it. Now, let me get it up here. There's actually two articles on it. And one article has information in it, and then there's a second article that has a little different information in it. So I want to read from both of these articles. Okay. Now, the first article that I want to read from is coming from KARK.com. And this is the reason why you see what you see in the title. This is the reason why the heading says what it says. So, let's get into this. And I'm going to let y'all hear a little bit of the audio about this as well. As a matter of fact, I think I'll let y'all hear the audio first, and then we'll read about it. Okay, now, this is the headline. Bryant police called on 10-year-old for a toy gun. That's the reason why the title reads as it does, is because this is eerie similar eerily similar to what happened to Tamir Rice, and under the circumstances, it definitely could have gone that way. It definitely could have gone the wrong way. Now, thank God, thank the universe, thank the Most High that it didn't, thank the Creator that it didn't, but it easily could have. You understand what I'm saying? Only difference is Tamir was at a park doing what kids do, and that's playing. This young man was in his own backyard doing what kids do, playing. Okay? So I'm going to let you hear a little bit of the audio, and then we'll get into the article. And again, this is KARK.com, and the article will be linked down in the description box. So just listen.
After a neighbor called the cops on her 10-year-old who was playing out.
I want to get back to the beginning.
Is on high alert, concerned for her son's safety after a neighbor called the cops on her 10-year-old who was playing outside.
That's his time to use his imagination, to play, and not have any worries. And that neighbor could have easily taken that away from him.
The mom tells our Haley Brooks she's now worried to let her son play in their own backyard. Haley.
Now, that's his mother talking. Her name is Tamara Fort. That's the little 10-year-old boy's mama. Her name is Tamara Forte. And very nice looking young lady, looks very respectable, ain't got no hood rat, she ain't throwing off no hood rat vibes or anything like that, so let's just keep listening.
Bob, Laura, this is 10-year-old Jackson. He told me he wants to be a Navy SEAL when he grows up, so when he goes outside to play in the trenches in his backyard, this is what he looks like. He has rain boots on, a life vest, aka a military vest, a helmet, and of course his canteen. Neighbors tell me they always see him outside and were surprised someone called 911.
Brown police. And there's a young black man, boyish, walking behind my house.
Now, that's the first thing that I want y'all to notice. Now, what you're hearing now is the actual 911 call. where this Karen called the police on this little boy who was playing in his own backyard now. And they say that he dresses like this because he has aspirations to be a Navy SEAL when he grows up. So he puts on his rain boots, he puts on his helmet, he puts on his little vest that's supposed to be like a protective bulletproof vest. He gets his canteen, he gets his gun, and he goes out there and he does his drills and his maneuvers and all this kind of stuff. Right? So, but the first thing you notice is what this caller said. She didn't say a little boy. She didn't say a kid. She said this young black man. I'm gonna let you hear it again.
What he says is black man, boyish, black. Brown police. And there's a young black man, boyish, walking behind my house with what he says is not a real gun.
That was a call made on 10-year-old Jackson Haynes while he was playing right here in his usual spot behind his house.
It doesn't sit well with me.
And the call to police doesn't sit well with Jackson's mother, Tamara, who says he plays here all the time.
But I could tell he was visibly shaken. So he said that, Mom, the neighbor said she's calling the police on me. My stomach just dropped.
Tamara says she was heading to speak with the neighbor, but then
so the police were there. And all I saw was red. Because I was so upset. I was like, this person really did call the police on a 10-year-old.
While talking to police, the neighbor says her concern was for her bird feeder and that she's never seen the boy before.
Now, that's what the neighbor who called the police on the 10-year-old, first of all, she lies and says that it's a young black man. Then she tries to switch it up again and say young black man, boyish, instead of just saying it was a kid. You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because white women are so accustomed to all they have to do is say it's a black man and the police come running ready to kill somebody. Somebody comes running ready to kill somebody. That's what happened to Emmett Till. That's what happened to Albert Wilson. That's what has happened to so many black men down through history, is all a white woman has to do is say, oh, help, black man. That's what the Central Park Karen, that's what she thought was going to happen. So she knew if she wanted to get some urgency from the police, if she wanted to get some kind of immediate response from the police, all she had to do was say, young, black, and man. All of a 10-year-old. And he looks every bit a 10-year-old. Okay? And now you understand. We've always said, most of us already know, that animals and dogs and cats and all of this kind of stuff mean more to these people than a black human life. So she gonna call the cops because she talking about she was concerned about her bird feeders. Not the birds themselves, her bird feeders. So now, if anybody needs to be charged with making a false report, you understand what I'm saying? Or calling 911 falsely on somebody, it's this woman right here. That's what her mama, that's what this little boy's mama and daddy need to be working on. They need to be working on getting this heifer arrested. Because if that police officer in his mind was thinking anything like the police officer who shot Tamir Rice, this little boy could be dead now. Let's keep listening.
I'm like, I don't care if you walk back behind there without this pistol-looking thing. I don't care what you call it. When I have bird feeders.
Sergeant Todd Carlson with the Bryant Police Department says he listened to the call and still isn't sure what the problem is.
Honestly, I don't know what he was doing wrong. He was outside playing, being a kid.
Both Carlson and Tamara say this could have had a tragic outcome.
So I don't want him to be naive to what's going on in the world, but I still want him to be a kid, as long as possible.
After taking a break from being outside for a few days, Jackson is now ready to take on his next Navy SEAL mission right here in his own backyard.
Now, I have reached out to the neighbor several times for comment, but I haven't been able to reach her yet. And police told me they haven't been able to reach her either. Bob, Laura, back to you.
So she made this fake 911 call because she was so concerned about a 10-year-old child with a toy gun and her bird feeders. But now, she had plenty to say when she was on the phone with the police. But now, you understand what I'm saying? Can't nobody get in touch with her. The news people can't get in touch with her. The police say they can't get in touch with her and all of that. Well, what they need to be doing is they need to be showing up at her house with an arrest warrant to arrest her for making this fake 911 call. Now, I'm not going to read this article because this article says the exact same thing that you just heard on the video. It just puts it in print, right? But I'm going to read from this other article over here in thv11.com. And this was published April the 8th, 2021. Bryant boy with Navy SEAL dreams has cops called on him for playing with toy gun. An African-American family in Bryant is raising their voices after their neighbor called the police on their 10-year-old son. So, and I'm glad they came at it. I'm glad this particular article came at it from the perspective of the parents, so that we could understand that even though it was just mom that we saw on TV, dad is very present in this child's life. If I'm not mistaken, I think they all live in a home together. Okay? Bryant, Arkansas. An African-American family in Bryant is raising their voices after their neighbor called the police on their 10-year-old son. He was outside doing what he loved, pretending to be a soldier with his toy guns. I want to be a Navy SEAL, said Jackson Haynes. Jackson has hopes and dreams to one day serve his country. Now, we'll get into that, and hopefully now that mom and dad realize, just how real it is and just how close it is to him already, and he ain't but 10 years old, hopefully they'll start instilling some stuff in him, teaching him some history and all of that, and he might change his mind about all of that military service, but he's 10 years old right now. I pretend I'm in the military with my toy guns making sound effects, said Jackson. For a while now, he's been using the creek in his backyard to wade through the waters as if he was on a real assignment. There were no problems until recently. A neighbor called police saying a young black man was walking around her home with a toy gun. I have bird feeders, and he has this toy gun walking behind my house, and he claims he does it every day. I've never seen this kid. This is the 911 caller. He came in the house really, really upset, said Tamara Forte, Jackson's mother. His parents, Fort and Marlon Haynes, are hurt that this happened in their little community. You can't shoot birds with this fake gun, so why? After that would you call? The only thing I could have gathered from that is his skin color. That's his mama talking. When the officer arrived, he gave Jackson advice. One thing he said had to do with the little orange cap on the tip of his gun, telling him to keep it on. Because when that's off, the officer has a split second to make a decision. They keep on with all this split second decisions and all of this kind of shit. It's funny how they don't make the wrong split second decision when it comes to other folks. They only make those wrong decisions in that split second when it comes to us. But anyway, that's sound advice. Now, is that gonna save some other little black child from being murdered by the police? We have no way of knowing. We have absolutely no way of knowing. That's why his parents are raising awareness, because this call could have ended differently. When you are making these calls, it could result in the death of a person or the death of a child, said Forte. Now, Jackson's parents said they are even more fearful for their son. I feel like toy guns aren't meant for black children, and that's really, really sad, said his mom. Sergeant Todd Crossan with Bryant Police Department said he hopes this situation doesn't kill Jackson's dreams of becoming a Navy SEAL. Don't let this stop him from going out back and playing Army, Navy SEAL, whatever he wants to do. Chase his dreams, said Crawford. So I just wanted to read y'all that story. I just wanted to bring y'all that information. I just wanted to let y'all know that what we need to be doing is we need to be encouraging these parents to seek some kind of lawsuit or something against this. If they can't get criminal charges against her, they need to at least be thinking about suing her civilly, because she really, really put that child's life in danger. And she made a false 911 call. There's absolutely no way she couldn't distinguish this little child from a full-grown black man. And that's what she said, a young black man. She didn't say a young black male. She said a young black man. Then she's tried to switch it up and said boyish. But boyish doesn't negate being a man. There are some men that still have that boyish look about them.
Oh shit, she coming back. Oh shit. Oh no, that's different.
And for you parents who allow your children to play with toy guns and all of that, it might be a good idea. You understand what I'm saying? Just for that extra, a little bit of protection, that, you know, you make them keep that orange cap on there so that people are aware that it's a toy gun. You understand what I'm saying? And so that police officers are aware that it's a toy gun, and they can't lie and say they thought it was something else. So let's move on, because there's one more thing I want to talk about right quick. Now, many of us have heard about Cariol Horn. That's the black police officer who back in 2006, her partner in the Buffalo Police Department, her partner was choking out this black man who was already handcuffed. And he had this man in a chokehold, and he was choking him out. She intervened. They put her through all kinds of stuff. Finally, in 2008, they fired her. You understand what I'm saying? Told up all kind of lies about her, made up all kind of stories about her jumping on the man's back and all of this kind of stuff and all that. And for the last 15 years, she's been fighting that case. She's been fighting that case for the last 15 years. Well, what we just learned last week was that a judge ruled in her favor that her firing had been a wrongful discharge. Right? So they've got to go back. They've got to do some back pay stuff. They've got to reinstate her. They've got to give her all of her full years for her pension, the whole 9 yards. But what's most importantly is, aside from this sister winning her case and being vindicated and all of that, what's most important is because she didn't want to go through all of this and then find out that some other cop had to go through all of this because they did the right thing and because they stepped in to intervene when their partner or some other police officer was doing too much. You know, we know that that's the reason why Christopher Dorner flipped out and wigged out is because of what they did to him when he spoke up about some stuff that was going on, and he spoke up about the racism in the Los Angeles Police Department, how they shunned him, they ostracized him, they told all kinds of lies on him and all of that, and that's what turned him rogue. This woman was so concerned about police officers having that ability to be able to cross that thin blue line without having to worry about retribution, without having to worry about backlash, without having to worry about being blackballed and blacklisted and being threatened and all of that, until in this process that she's been going through for the last 15 years, she came up with this law. And this law has finally been passed now in Buffalo City. And the name of this law is Cariol's Law. Cariol', Cariol's Law. Right? And essentially, what this law does is, this law makes it mandatory for any law enforcement personnel to intervene in a situation where they see abuse of power, excessive force, excessive use of force, or whatever. The law says that they must intervene. Right? So I'm on her website, and I'll list the website down in the description box. And this is what I wanna. It says, what is Cariol's Law? Cariol's Law is a proposal for legislation to have a mandatory statute on police bystander intervention, provide protection from retaliation, require external investigation with mandated reprimanding for abuse or misconduct, create a required portable registry. Then it has a petition that you can have, that you can sign, and all of this. Then it actually has the PDF that you can read of the law. It has the long version and it has the short version. And the short version is only about 4 pages. Cariol's Law, protecting police officers from retaliation when they interrupt police brutality. And it goes into explaining the duty to intervene, punishments for officers who neglect their duty to intervene, protections for officers who do intervene, punishment for LEP. LEP means law enforcement professionals. That's what LEP means. Punishment for LEP who falsify reports. I mean, it goes really, really deep in this. Policies regarding officers who are terminated and department funding. Retroactive whistleblower protections. And it cites a whole lot of what happened with George Floyd. You know, and the fact that, you know, folks just stood by, you know what I'm saying, and you had police officers just standing by and actually helping Derek Chauvin kill the man, but nobody intervened. And I thought, and to me, this may not be the end all to be all. You understand what I'm saying? But this is the kind of stuff that the George Floyd Act and all of this kind of stuff, this is the kind of stuff that needs to be in it. You understand what I'm saying? Not what we talking about reforming the police and all of that, because we know now that they cannot be reformed. We're not talking about that. Now, there needs to be some laws that make it mandatory that they do certain things or that they don't do certain things. And she was on the Breakfast Club, maybe a few days ago. She was on the Breakfast Club, and she was talking about all the police officers who are out here, all the good, quote unquote, good police officers who are out here, and they are desperately looking for something like this, something that makes it mandatory for them to intervene, or they'll lose their job, or they'll lose their pension, or they'll stand a chance of being punished for not intervening, and all of that. She said because there's so many of them that are afraid to cross that thin blue line. And this will give them, a law like this will give them the cover that they need and the protection that they need so that they can step out without having to worry about retaliation. Because then it becomes a matter of, yeah, you know, you might be my brother, but I ain't finna go to prison for you. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't finna go to jail for you. I ain't finna get in no trouble for you, with you, or for you, when you know you ain't got no business doing this at all. And you know now that it's mandatory that we intervene. And not only would it give the cops who want to step up and want to say something, not only would it give them the cover and the protection that they need, but these bad apples, these rotten apples, you understand what I'm saying? It would make them think twice about some of the stuff that they're doing. Why? Because they realize now the law requires that somebody intervene, that somebody stop them, that somebody say, no, you can't be doing all that. And I just thought, you know, I just thought it was wonderful. I thought it was wonderful that she would come up with something like that, that she would come up with a way to give these officers a leg up, you understand what I'm saying, and give them the much needed protection, you know, so we won't have any more officers like, I can't remember his name, but she talks about him. You know, the guy down there in Louisiana, the Sheriff Clyde something, that they say committed suicide back here about a month and a half, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, because he had just seen so much. You know, as a police officer, he had just seen so much that he just couldn't take it anymore. You know, and she actually mentions him and talks about him in this interview that she did on the Breakfast Club. And I will have that interview linked in the description box so y'all can go hear what she's saying about this law, what she's saying about her motivation, what she's saying about what motivated her to intervene on that fateful day in 2006. How she's constantly in contact with all of these other police officers, some of them who are dealing with what she had to deal with, some of them who want to speak out, want to step out, but they don't want to cross that line because they know what crossing that line means. folks know what the penalty is for crossing white supremacy. They know that there's a penalty, and they know what it is. White folks have been suffering that penalty even during slavery. You understand what I'm saying? If you were too friendly with black folk, you understand what I'm saying? If you seem to care a little bit too much, you know what I'm saying? If you weren't willing to dog them out and all of this kind of stuff, then then your white counterparts will look at you and maybe call you a nigger lover or whatever the case may be. There were several white folks that were lynched, burnt out, hung, murdered by the Klan because they supported black folks. They supported the end of slavery. They supported abolishing slavery and all that. White supremacy does not like to be crossed. So on this website, let's talk a little bit more about what's on the website. On the website, they have the about page,
you can go to libertymutual.com,
which takes you to
so you only pay for what you need.
Really? I didn't.
Which take you to a YouTube video that talks about her, her GoFundMe, her contact. It's official, decision vacated, back pay approved. Cariol is now pension eligible. And all of this happened April the 13th, 2021. They got the official filings for her. What's covered? Section 1, duty to intervene when officers pose imminent threat to citizens. Section 2, accountability for officers neglecting to intervene. And Section 3, protection for officers who do intervene. Section 4, accountability for falsifying reports. Because you got to remember. Now remember, that's how they got the warrant to go into Breonna Taylor's house. They told them lies. Remember, that's how the police got that warrant to go into Breonna's house, is they lied on the affidavit. They lied to the judge on the affidavit, right? Impacts policy regarding termination and department funding, restorative justice for retaliation of whistleblowers, which means that, they're going to do some retroactive stuff where you can go back. You understand what I'm saying? And if an officer was retaliated against or fired or blackballed or whatever because they spoke out against something, they spoke out against excessive force, they spoke out against police brutality, they spoke out against racism in law enforcement or whatever. They're talking about doing retroactive stuff where they can go back like they did with her. So what they did with her is they went back and brought her back to where she would have been had that whole incident never took place. And the police officer that she stopped from choking the guy, his name was Greg Kwiatkowski. That was his name. Now, in 2011, he sued her, the black police officer who had already been fired. He sued her. You understand what I'm saying? For defamation and false claims and all against him and everything. And he actually won a $65,000 settlement award against her. So one of the questions that they had for the folks on the one of the folks on the Black Breakfast Club had, well, are y'all gonna refute that now or whatever the case may be? And her attorney said, yes, we're gonna handle that, just like we're gonna make sure she get her full pension and all of this kind of stuff. But this is what is so ironic. In 2018, this same police officer, member of the dominant society, was sentenced to 4 months in federal prison for a 2009 incident in which he used unlawful and unreasonable force against 4 black teenagers, including slamming their heads into a car. And she says in the interview that actually one of those black teenagers ended up being shot with BBs too. So he actually ended up doing way too much. Years later, he ended up doing way too much. And they just couldn't hide it no more. You understand what I'm saying? And he only did 4 months in federal prison. But I think that this law is something that we need to be pushing. I think this law is something that we need to look into. I think this law is something that we need to support because, like I said, not only will it give the police officers that want to speak out, that want to step up, not only will it give them the cover and the protection that they need, but it'll also make these race soldiers realize, you understand what I'm saying? Unless we ready to start killing up other police officers and doing this stuff on a wide scale, we need to chill out a little bit. Unless we willing to just go 100% rogue, we need to chill out. You see what I'm saying? Because now you got some checks and balances. You understand? Now you got some stuff happening that's curbing some of that power that the Supreme Court and the Democrats and all of these folks and the Republicans, all of these folks, white supremacy period, this power that it has given law enforcement. This could end up being a very real check and balance. And if you get this implemented across the country, you understand what I'm saying? Because that's her thing. It's not enough for it to be in Buffalo. You understand what I'm saying? Then you got some race soldier that leaves Buffalo and goes, to the next city that doesn't have this law, and he's allowed to do whatever he want to do. So this is the reason why we need to push for this to be nationwide. We need to get behind this. Folks are always talking about what's the solution, what's the solution. Well, no, this, like I said, is this the end all to be all? No. But it's a beginning. It's part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I will have the link to her website in the description box, so you can go, you can read about the law, you can read about her, you can read about what all this law entails, and you can read about how you can donate and how you can throw your support behind this, because this is something that I definitely think us foundational black Americans need to be throwing our support behind. You understand what I'm saying? And if anything, if they implement this thing and they start implementing it city after city after city, and they start implementing this thing, and all of this stuff keeps happening and nobody's intervening, and we still seeing cops just standing around, you understand what I'm saying, while other cops are killing and abusing people or black folks or whatever, then we'll know, well, it really ain't no good cops. We'll know for a fact it ain't none, because now you got cover. You understand what I'm saying? Now you got the protection that you need to be able to step out and say, you need to chill out. You're doing too much. It don't take all of that. You understand what I'm saying? Especially when you already got somebody arrested, you already got somebody down on the ground, you already got somebody handcuffed, or whatever the case may be. It don't take all that extra stuff. And when you listen to her interview with the Breakfast Club, you'll realize that watching what happened to George Floyd had a huge impact on this woman. It had a huge impact on all of us. But it really had a huge impact on her because she was looking at it from several different views. She was looking at it from the view of just a black woman in America. She was looking at it from the view of a police officer in America. She was looking at it from the view of a black female police officer in America. And she was looking at it from the view of a black female officer in America who has been ostracized and retaliated against and fired off her job and lied on, her pension taken from her, the whole 9 yards. And we really gonna have to push for them to start going after these police officers' pensions. We're gonna have to push that. Because there's no reason this woman stood the chance of had lost her pension because she did the right thing. And these folks out here killing people indiscriminately for no reason whatsoever. And they can retire and keep their pension. You know, she also, in the interview, she gets into talking about qualified immunity and all of that. So, you know, I just really urge everybody to go listen to this interview. I urge you to go to the website and read about the law, read about what she's been doing, what she's proposing, and let's get behind this. This is something that we can get behind. This is something that we can push. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's time for some checks and balances. That's the problem with the police. White supremacy has gave them entirely too much power. And nobody is holding them accountable. They are not accountable to anybody but white supremacy. And as long as they're doing what white supremacy wants them to do, then there is no accountability. So, you know, I'm going to leave y'all with just listening to her voice and listening to some of what she's saying in the interview. But like I said, y'all, please like this video, thumbs up. Please share the video. Please have these conversations. Parents, be careful of your children. You understand what I'm saying? And you know, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. All I'm saying is maybe that little piece of advice. If you let your children play with toy guns, maybe that little piece of advice about making sure that orange tip is always there. Maybe that little piece of advice might be the difference between life and death. You just never know. It don't hurt to try it. It don't hurt to try it. Along with telling them the truth about what's going on. Telling them the truth about the country that they live in. Telling them the truth about white supremacy. Telling them the truth about the fact that they're hated by white supremacy. And that white supremacy's main goal is to destroy black people. See, that's the reason why these children keep putting themselves in these dangerous situations over and over and over again, is because nobody's telling them the truth. Nobody's being honest with them. Nobody is preparing them for that real world out there. They're not prepared, but that real world is preparing for them. So please have these conversations on social media, off social media, with your family, with your friends, with your kids, with your co-workers. Have these conversations. Get down in that description box, read this stuff. Definitely read about this law. Definitely listen to her interview with the Breakfast Club. You understand what I'm saying? And learn as much as you can about this Cariol's law. Because this is the first time that anybody has put forth any kind of legislation that talks about actually punishing the police when they do wrong. Actually punishing them. So I'm gonna leave y'all now. I'll be back with y'all as soon as I come up with some more information, and as soon as I work up another report. And I want you to hear what the judge had to say in his ruling in her favor. In his ruling, Judge Dennis Ward wrote that the city of Buffalo has recognized the error and has acknowledged the need to undo an injustice from the past. The legal system can, at the very least, be the mechanism to help justice prevail, even if belatedly. While the Eric Garners and the George Floyds of the world never had a chance for a do-over, at least here the correction can be done, Ward wrote. And see, that's the thing you always got to think about. Eric Garner can't do it over. George Floyd can't do it over. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, we got to do what we need to do to stay alive. And to protect our children. And protect our families and our communities. So if that means keeping that little orange cap on that little toy gun, then do that. If that's going to help the situation even one little iota, if that's going to give your child a 5% chance of living compared to a 0% chance of living, do that. But make sure you get down in the description box. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. All my subscribers, I want you to know, as I always tell you, how much I appreciate you. And I do this all for you. I do this for us. I do this for our community. I do this so that we can keep in touch with each other, so we can let each other know what's going on, the whole 9 yards. This is something else that she said. The man whose life she actually saved that day, his name was Neil Mack. And she said this is what she told CBS this morning in an interview in 2012. Neil Mack looked like he was about to die. So had I not stepped in, he possibly could have. He was handcuffed and being choked. Okay, so the next voice you will hear will be just a little something from Cariol home on the Breakfast Club. This was April 15th. Okay, all right, y'all.
Mm-hmm. I want to revisit though back then, because what we're seeing right now while we're watching this Derek Chauvin case, right, and what's happening with him is how many people that were witnesses wish they could have intervened or done something to stop Derek Chauvin from killing George Floyd, and you actually did intervene. So can you tell us what was going on in your mind at that time?
There was a man named Mark Virginia who was killed by the Buffalo police. And that's what I thought of when I saw him choking Neil Mack. I thought of Mark Virginia, but there were other officers there, and nobody stopped the chokehold to save his life. So that's actually what I thought of. And so, you know, I yelled to him, "Greg, you're choking him." And then when he didn't stop, that's when I decided to step in, grab his arm, and that's all I did, was grab his arm from around his neck. But then by the time they finished with the story, he said I did.
It doesn't matter, you're a hero. That's right. Okay, you did exactly what we would want any police officer to do in that situation.
And you know what? Didn't that same police officer end up going to jail for something else after that?
Yeah, he did. He choked another officer on duty, and then he banged the heads of 4 teens on the police.
Now, he went so rogue till he choked another officer on duty. That's probably the reason why that's probably the real reason why he ended up going to prison. They probably, used the cover of what he had done to those 4 black teenage boys. But the real reason is because he had got so rogue and so crazy with it till he choked out another police officer.
Police car that he was arresting, and one of the teens was shot with a BB gun also. No. So in the George Floyd case, we saw that no officer did anything.
That's right.
That's the purpose of Cariol's law. It's the Cariol's law duty to intervene, because then it's a law that you have to intervene, but we need to make it a national law, because it makes no sense to just have it here in this city where an officer here can move to another city and get on that department. We actually needed a federal law. So it's great that it started here, but it needs to be a federal law. And you can go to cariolslaw.com and get all the information to jump on board for that.
You know what's crazy? Hold on one second. You know what's crazy? You have to have a law in place for officers to do what they say they're supposed to do, which is protect and serve.
Yeah, so I didn't want any other officer to go through what I had gone through for doing the right thing. So I tried to figure out what a solution would be, because you hear the problems all the time. So I wanted a solution, and what will force the officers to do it. Because if you don't force them, a lot of them are still not going to do it because they don't want to cross over that blue line. So that's why I thought of the law. So now that we have the law and they have to do it, then it's important to get it passed throughout the country. And my attorneys are on.
Yeah, I see attorney. I see him. I saw when you popped up with the bow tie and that law.
Y'all have a good night.